This is gonna be so relatable.
All my life I've beaten on evil creatures. But new evil keep popping up. Kicking their butt was a hopeless effort.
This is an existential crisis that every thinking man and woman has had to deal with at some point. Life can just kick you so hard that you begin wondering, what is it all for? Why even bother waking up in the morning? Why do anything? What is the meaning of life? Billy has gotten to that point. He's been fighting monsters all his life, but monsters never seem to go anywhere. They just keep spawning, and it breaks him.
I was talking about beating up monsters. It's as pointless as a dog chasing his own tail.
Billy loses faith in his ability to bring any good to the world. It's not hard to see why. Ooh is a post-apocalyptic wasteland of infinite dimensions filled with primordial evil beings that are constantly creating chaos. Billy's failure to eradicate the monsters despite doing nothing else but killing them for his entire life leads him to the conclusion that maybe there's no point to any of it. And we are not any better off. We are hairless monkeys clinging to a rock that is spinning through the black void of space at 67,000 miles per hour. That rock orbits a flaming ball of gas 1.3 trillion times its size. That flaming ball of gas is just a microscopic part of the Milky Way galaxy, which has anything from 100 billion to 400 billion stars. There are so many stars in the Milky Way that even with all our technology, we still get confused trying to count them. And that is just one galaxy. Ours. There are over 2 trillion galaxies within our range of sight, and many of them are way bigger than our little Milky Way galaxy. We are literally nothing compared with the infinite vastness of the universe. Oh, and one day we're all gonna die. Everything we feel, everything we do, and everything we are will eventually fade into nothing. So why bother? Why not just give up and die? This is the existential crisis that Billy is suffering from. But Adventure Time says you shouldn't surrender and quit. There is a way to win against all those odds, and it's hiding in Billy's story arc. The quickest way to describe Billy is that he is Superman. He fought a bear, kicked the Lich's butt, and slayed the ocean. Billy is everything Finn wants to become. You know, the guy you see when you close your eyes and fantasize about your future self. To Finn, Billy is that guy.
It's him! It's him!
I know, be cool.
Man, I'm such a huge nerd for you. Please take us on as hero apprentices.
Getting close to a guy like that is difficult. But one day, Finn and Jake just stumble into him. They had a busy morning saving the mini queen from a swamp monster. The mini queen thanked them, but Finn didn't do it for gratitude.
My pleasure, ma'am. I just like beating up evil.
When Finn meets his hero and tells him about saving the mini queen from a monster, Billy tells him the whole saving people from monsters thing is pointless.
You know where she is right now? She's probably being eaten by a different monster. She'd probably be dead.
Billy is no longer the man he used to be. The fearless hero has become a defeatist, a nihilist, a killjoy who's just given up on life. But how? And why?
I loved Billy, and I believed in him, but then Billy stopped believing, and that jammed up our whole deal.
Billy stopped believing. He stopped believing in himself, and he stopped believing in his purpose. He stopped believing that saving people from monsters was actually a good thing. Just withdrew to his cave and let the monsters do whatever they wanted to whoever they wanted. If that sounds kind of stupid to you, stop worrying. It only sounds stupid because it is. But before you judge Billy too harshly for dodging his hero duties, remember that we do most of the same stuff he does. After giving up on monster hunting, Billy picks up new hobbies.
After a while, all he did was watch movies and play video games. Pretty lame, right? So I bailed.
His girlfriend doesn't approve. Once Billy's girl dumps him, he just spirals further and further down until he reaches the final level of loserdom. He becomes a defeatist. This is made worse by the fact that Finn and Jake worship him. So instead of laughing at him, they actually listen to what he has to say.
Billy?
Billy!
This depressed guy who spends all day in his cave because he's given up on life tells them to give up fighting monsters, and they take him seriously.
It'll be easy not to beat up on monsters and still help people.
Jake and Finn's attempts to destroy evil with the power of friendship obviously don't work, but they give us a lot of hilarious moments, like this one.
Hey, evildoer! Can you keep your evil doing quiet?
And this one.
Hey, mister. Besides being chased by a monster, what else is wrong?
Yup, Finn and Jake help a man who is being chased by a dragon by abandoning him so they can go far away and make something to eat. It's a masterclass in prioritization. The nonviolent experiment is an absolute failure because, of course it is. Nonviolence only works against parties that actually respect nonviolence, and monsters, generally as a rule, do not do that. If you don't run or fight back, all they will see is an easy meal. And with Finn and Billy chickening out of the fight, there are lots of easy meals in Ooh. Everything Finn does just proves the impracticality of nonviolence as a viable philosophy. When he cooks gruel, he adds a stone skin potion that makes people grow armor. When he makes shoes, they shoot out lassos, and when he tries plastic surgery, he makes his patients sprout knives and shoot fire. He has good reasons. He wants the people to be able to defend themselves, but they don't want to.
You're supposed to beat up monsters so we don't have to defend ourselves.
Monsters are metaphors for death, because that is what they bring. They're not going around hugging people. They're killing them, eating them, and terrorizing them. When it comes to such creatures, violence is unavoidable. Even in our supposedly advanced and peaceful democracies, at the end of the day, our laws are still enforced by policemen with guns. Bad people exist, but because of the violence of the government, many of these bad people are forced to play nice. Take away the police and the guns, however, and these bad people won't play nice anymore. The flaw in Billy's philosophy is the belief that violence is inherently evil. It's not. Violence is a tool, just like a knife. A knife is not inherently good or bad, it just depends on what you use it for. You can use a knife to slice tomatoes, or you can use a knife to slice something else. Same thing with violence. You can use it to defend the weak, or you can use it to threaten the weak. Context is everything. Finn finally realizes this as well.
Jake,
Yeah?
I think us not being violent is hurting people.
The only mistake he makes is that instead of blaming his passivity, Finn blames himself. He thinks he is doing non-violence wrong because he doesn't want to disappoint Billy. He keeps trying. But the monsters don't reciprocate. They keep doing monster things until one event changes everything. Finn and Jake find a swamp monster trying to grind up an old lady. Jake tries to help non-violently.
Hey, evildoer! Can you keep your evil doing quiet?
Obviously, it doesn't work. Monsters have a fundamentally different definition of good and evil. A gazelle might think it's evil for a lion to kill it and eat it for lunch, but a lion might think the gazelle is evil for running away too fast and letting the lion starve to death. Come on, Mr. Gazelle, help a brother out. These two positions cannot be reconciled. They have to be fought out to the bitter end. This is the fact that Finn is ultimately forced to confront when he finds a swamp monster preparing to eat an old lady.
A fist raised in righteous anger? Oh no, it's my fist! I've got to think of a way to save this old lady without punching this guy in the face.
Finn can't think of anything, so he punches the swamp monster in the face and saves the old lady.
Poop! I saved her with violence.
Despite his success, Finn feels guilty about his use of violence. He has disappointed Billy. The old lady thinks it's all nonsense because she doesn't believe violence is inherently evil.
You sure helped this old gal out, and you did it with violence. Like a true hero, you were born to punch evil creatures.
Ugh!
The old lady tells Finn and Jake that violence can be a good thing if used properly.
Don't deny your rowdy nature, paladins.
Saving people from monsters is what gives Finn's life meaning, but he needs violence to do that saving. Jake and Finn return to Billy and share the good news about the awesomeness of violence. Billy doesn't buy it. So they show him the old lady.
We saved her, Billy.
You saved her.
I saved her, Billy. I saved her using violence. And that's not a bad thing, Billy. This old lady is alive because of these.
Billy confronts his own beliefs and comes to a horrifying conclusion. He is wrong.
Perhaps you're right.
Doubles over in pain.
It's as if your words are filling a void in my very being.
The void in Billy's heart closes up. Finn and Jake have converted him to the religion of violent heroism.
Finn and Jake, truly, you are my heroes.
The old lady becomes Billy's old lady, and the credits roll. But what does it mean? It's a layered metaphor, so let's unpack it. Billy stopped believing in his purpose of saving people from monsters because he got squeamish about using violence. Finn shows him that violence is necessary to fight monsters, and Billy rediscovers his purpose again. That's when the void in his heart closes. This doesn't mean that violence is the meaning of life, obviously. The true answer is purpose. Purpose is what gives life meaning. Purpose is what makes you wake up in the morning. It's what keeps you going day after day. Purpose gives life direction, structure, and clear goals to strive for. For Billy, that purpose was fighting monsters. Violence is just a metaphor for the struggle against evil. When Billy stopped believing in that purpose and that struggle and just started sitting around, he became depressed. A void opened up in his heart, and his girlfriend dumped him. He's literally me.
After a while, all he did was watch movies and play video games. Pretty lame, right? So I bailed.
A life without purpose is an empty one. That's why we get depressed and become nihilistic when we lack purpose. This is the cold, harsh reality. If you're not striving for anything in life, you're just waiting to die. That wait is horrifying and depressing and all sorts of bad. You cannot be inactive in the face of an evil like death. You have to actively fight it. But Billy just sits around and waits. He distracts himself from waiting with movies and video games, but deep down, he knows. He knows he's not doing anything worthwhile. He's just burning time, waiting for death. That knowledge eats him alive. Finn and Jake help Billy rediscover that purpose with their childish simplicity. And Billy is complete again. The void in his heart closes up and his life brightens up. But that is just Billy. What the hell does that have to do with you, right? What should your purpose be? We can't go around slaying monsters anymore because our ancestors killed all of them, probably. They did such a good job that most dangerous animals are now endangered species. We can't sail off and discover new lands because everything has been discovered, right? Every square inch of the earth has been explored, mapped, and claimed by somebody. So what do we do with our life? What is our purpose? I'm gonna say this from bitter experience. Pleasure is not the answer. The hedonism that is sold to us every day is just a distraction from the one true purpose of all people, transcending death. Death is the ultimate evil. We have to fight it in all its forms. That's what the Lich and monsters in Adventure Time represent. When you ignore the struggle and chase pleasure full time like Billy did after he lost faith in his purpose, death wins. When you chase distractions while remaining passive in the face of death, you effectively surrender to it. The distractions and addictions only amuse you until death finally comes for you. They don't help you defeat death. They just help you pass the time. I believe every human on Earth can agree with me on one thing. Life is good and death is evil. This has to be the cornerstone of any serious pursuit of meaning. I know some nihilists will say life is meaningless and our bodies are just meat bags filled with chemicals with no inherent worth or importance. Don't listen to them. True nihilists, the ones who truly believe that life is meaningless, are not alive anymore. The rest are just edgelords covering up their lack of personality or real achievements with edgy opinions they copy from a Reddit comment. If they truly believed their lives were meaningless, they would terminate them. But the fact that you are alive and watching this means that at the very least, you are not a cringe nihilist, okay? So, you believe that life is worth living. Once we start from that base that life is a good thing in and of itself, our purpose becomes clear, defeating death in all its forms. At the end of the day, nobody wants to die. We all want to live forever, right? We can't do it physically, obviously, because these meat bags of ours grow old and frail. But there are ways around this design flaw. There are 3 primary ways that people use to pursue purpose: transcend death, and finally, achieve immortality. Number 1, religion. Religion is one of the oldest and most successful sources of purpose. I'm not gonna preach to you because that's cringe, and I'm not holy enough to do it anyway. In the olden days, back when we were dying of dysentery at 22 and burning witches to cure the dysentery, everybody was a true believer. Religion offered eternal life to people who lived a righteous life. This satisfied that universal human desire for immortality. But things have changed. There are very few true believers left. Many of the guys I know who go to church only do it because of family pressure, but they don't have any true belief in the teachings of their faith. And the less said about those clowns who say they're spiritual but not religious, the better. But still, religion has its advantages. Religious people are the happiest and least depressed people in society because they have a very strong sense of purpose. They're going to do good things, go to heaven, and live forever. It simplifies their lives immensely because they never have to worry about the meaning of life, the nature of wrong and right, and their place in the world. But unless you're gonna go ahead and believe in God with all your heart, like Kierkegaard advised, I would not recommend it. Religion only works if your faith is absolute. If you only believe half-heartedly, your convictions won't be strong enough to support anything long-lasting. You're just gonna wishy-washily stumble your way to meaninglessness. So if you can't believe with all your heart, you have to look somewhere else for purpose. That brings us to number 2, the oldest source of purpose in the world. Number 2, family. Family is simultaneously the easiest and the hardest source of purpose. It's easy because anybody can do it, but it's also hard because you can't do it alone. There is no such thing as a family of one. It's a collaborative project. Family satisfies that urge for immortality by allowing your genes to live on through your children and their children and those children's children. People have been dedicating their lives to their families forever. Good parents work themselves to the bone and make enormous sacrifices to ensure that their children have a better life. I've spoken to my parents and a couple of others about this. All of them say that the day they became parents was the day they stopped playing around and became real adults. Those kids gave them a reason to live. All of them complain about their kids, obviously. Kids are annoying, guys, but they wouldn't give them up for anything. They would die for those little rascals. It seems selfless, but it's not. Not really. Your kid is half you. Sacrificing the old raggedy you for the new and updated version of you is the most efficient way to ensure that your genes survive to be passed on to the next generation. And then another, until the end of time, right? We are literally hardwired to spread our genes. But it's not the only path to immortality. The third path is not open to everybody, but for those who make it, boy, it's worth it. Number 3, legacy. For every Genghis Khan who shoots a whole nation out of his balls, there is a Jesus who died childless but is still remembered 2,000 years later because of his ideas. This is the same club as Confucius, Buddha, and Muhammad. Even if you don't believe in these guys or their teachings, the one thing you can't deny is that they won the game of life here. They beat death and lived on forever in the hearts and minds of all the people who look up to them. That is the power of legacy. If your legacy is strong enough, you can live forever, even if you die at 33. Legacy is what drives people to pursue wealth, fame, and glory. It's why Alexander the Great named every city from Greece to Egypt and Tajikistan after himself. It's why the pharaohs of Egypt built those giant pyramids. It's why rich people slap their names on every building they can find. It's why billionaires get into politics instead of retiring on a beach. That reason is not getting richer because the money itself is not the end goal. The money is just a tool to help them achieve a different goal. Legacy. We all want to be remembered after we're gone. It's what drives our desire for excellence. Everybody can't be remembered by everybody. But if you're phenomenal enough at what you do, you will be. You could be the Leonardo da Vinci of your generation, or Isaac Newton, or Columbus. I personally believe that transcending death is the whole point of life. That is what Adventure Time shows us with Billy's arc. Life is good and death is evil. Look death in the face and tell it, suck it. That's your purpose, right there. But we usually don't do that. And yes, I'm including myself because I'm very guilty of this. Instead of finding purpose by defying death, we surrender to death and amuse ourselves with distractions and addictions until it finally comes to claim us. We know we're just twiddling thumbs as death comes closer and closer, but we keep doing it anyway. No wonder we're miserable. When Billy says this,
I was talking about beating up monsters. It's as pointless as a dog chasing his own tail.
he is wrong. Because it doesn't matter if the monsters keep springing up after you beat them down. If the alternative is surrendering to the monsters and the death they bring, then it's not much of a choice. Billy doesn't make the world a better place by giving up the fight. He actually makes it worse. If you believe that life is a good thing, then you have a moral duty to fight for it and prolong it as long as possible. Look death in the face every day and tell it to suck it. Don't die without a family or a legacy, because that is letting death win. I believe this is the universal human drive, to live forever. either through the body, through our children and their children, or in spirit, through our ideas and our accomplishments. And you don't have to be mega famous to leave a lasting legacy. All you have to do is gain the undying respect of at least one person. When Billy dies, Finn finds his bucket list and finishes it. Runs towards the ocean, sees a wave, screams, runs back in fear. Finn struggles with his fear of the ocean and finally overcomes it just to honor a dead guy. That is legacy. That is a meaningful life. So start that family, help those people, and build that pyramid that'll be around for 5,000 years. That's how you win against death. You either leave your DNA behind, or you leave your essence in the hearts and minds of all those people who know you. That's how you live forever and achieve meaning. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go take my own advice for once, and I'll catch you next time.